Well, Mac Jones and the Patriots are terrible. We might have PJ Walker in Cleveland this week. And who the hell knows what to do with the Dallas Cowboys each and every week at this point? I certainly don't, but we're going to break all of it down. We got some great stuff today. This is picks for every game going into week 6, baby. Dave Loughren with Odd Shopper. Hit that thumbs up, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. And remember, we're going to hit on every game. You don't need to parlay all of them. We're going to pick our spots, do the best we can to identify the best betting spots out there for each and every game. And sometimes there's only going to be a handful of games we love. Others will be a lean. Some will be a pass, but that's what we do every week. So let's get into it. And for those of you that aren't in these 6 states that I'm about to mention, feel free, just fast forward to the picks. I get it. But if you're in Colorado or New Jersey, Virginia, Ohio, or Iowa, and most importantly, Kentucky, I'm telling you, stick around for the next minute or less, because this will intrigue you, if nothing else. If you're in those 6 states right now, well, 5 of them, Kentucky's even better, you're getting $150 at Bet365 when you sign up. Deposit $10 and bet only 5 of it. That is it. Takes 2 minutes. You click the link in the description or the one that we have in the pinned comment. You sign up, verify yourself, and then all you have to do, deposit 10, bet 5 of it, $150 coming your way. Whether you win or lose does not make a difference. So splurge, throw it on a monster plus 1,000 parlay, whatever it may be. You win, awesome. You got 150 coming anyway. You lose, you got the 150 coming. If you think of it this way, you're making $150 in 2 minutes, $75 a minute. Anywhere else in life, you're like, yeah, I think I'll take that offer. Perfect opportunity. Make sure you're on as many sports books as possible so you can always shop the lines, shop the odds. Don't get caught holding you know what because you bet the wrong game, the wrong line, or wrong odds every single time. And also, take advantage of free money when a book like Bet365 wants to throw it at you. If you're in Kentucky, you bet $1 on your $10 deposit and get $365 at Bet365. It's the biggest come up you're going to have in sports betting, win or lose, no matter what. Must be 21 years or older to gamble. If you're someone who has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Link in the description and the comments. Let's get into it, fellas. All right, first up, we got Thursday Night Football. And as you guys know, every Monday, every Thursday, around like 12 Eastern, I'm going to have a video on this. So for Monday night games specifically, Thursday night games specifically, right here on the Odd Shopper channel, we got you covered. But we'll hit on this one first. Broncos 10.5-point dogs against the Chiefs, 48-point total. Look, honestly, when you look at this game, the obvious public bet is going to be the Chiefs. I get that. The Broncos are dog shit. This team is bad right now. There's no doubt about it. But they are 10.5-point dogs in a division game. And Patrick Mahomes hasn't exactly been a stud when it comes to covering the spread. So this is kind of the metaphorical gun to the head type spot. You're getting them outside of 10 points with the hook, 10.5. I think you have to lean Broncos here, even if they backdoor cover in a divisional spot. I'll get into that more on Thursday morning. But there is one spot I want to hit on, and it is the rushing game and a prop for Isaiah Pacheco, over 73.5 rushing yards right now. I'm seeing this in some spots at like 80.5. So make sure that you're pulling it from the right spot. Matter of fact, Bet365, we just talked about it. They have this at 73.5 as well. This is a Broncos team that has allowed 938 rushing yards. No other team in the league has allowed more than 770. Think about that for a moment. No other team has allowed more than 770. They've been gutted on the ground week in and week out. We just saw what Breece Hall did to them on Sunday. 5.9 yards per attempt allowed from the Broncos on the ground. Terrible, terrible, terrible run defense. And also, you've got a banged up Travis Kelce. It's possible he plays. Dude's a warrior. Came back with the taped up ankle last game. But who knows how much that affects him in the passing game. Outside of Kelce, there's nobody reliable in this offense. There really isn't. And it's been pretty evident through a lot of these games early on in the season that Patrick Mahomes has struggled at times. Isaiah Pacheco, over 73.5 rushing yards, especially when you consider he has 36 carries over the last 2 weeks compared to 6 for Clyde Edwards-Helaire and 4 total for Jerick McKinnon. He's the bell cow right now. I think they lean on him even in a pass-first offense. Commanders, 2.5-point dogs at the Falcons, 42.5-point total. Look, guys, if you've been hanging with me we have been locked in on the Falcons all season. We're 5-0 betting either on the Falcons or against them. So in games that the Falcons have played, we're 5-0. It's been one team I think we've had a legitimately good read on from week to week, depending on who they're facing. And it makes sense. You look at how this team is kind of constructed, even though last week I'd say we kind of got bailed out because it was Desmond Ritter's arm and not the rushing game that got him there. But this spot's trickier for me. It really is. I mean, I will say this much. Follow me on Twitter at Loughy_D, LOUGHY_D. Jacob can throw that up on the screen too to make it easier for you guys. I'm for sure, and I said this on Monday night's game when we didn't have props because of Adams, we ended up going Jacoby Myers as a Twitter play over receiving yards. We hit that in the first half. We'll take it all day. Over first half, when you hit the overs in the first half, there's no better feeling. Then you can just cruise the rest of the way. But I'm definitely going to have some props here once they come out. I'm recording this on Wednesday. And the reason is I think, Atlanta could lose this game. And I think Ritter probably goes back and regresses back to not a 300-plus yard passer. But I think they're going to try and air it out. And we saw him attempt some deep balls, connect on a couple last week. They have to against the Commanders. I tweeted it earlier. I listed off all of the big plays allowed in the passing game by the Commanders this year. It's insane. 650-plus yard receiving passing plays, 15 or 13 of 30-plus yards, 16 of 25-plus yards. They've been crushed on deep passes. And you have guys like Pitts and Drake, despite being infrequently used at times, that can really open things up if you get them the ball. I'm going to be looking at some longest reception props. I'm going to be looking at some overs on receiving yards. Even though I don't love Ritter himself, I think there's going to be spots we target. Right now, though, I would say that the Falcons -2.5 would be my lean, only because you're getting them inside a field goal. If this was the Commanders at +3.5, I'd be grabbing them. I don't think the Commanders' offense is as bad as it's looked. The Falcons aren't as good as they've looked in certain spots, and 2 of those wins they've had to come from behind on the final drive. So I'll lay the 2.5, but really this is going to be a prop spot for me, and let's pay attention to this as they start getting released and trickling in throughout the week. Ravens and Titans. Ravens 4.5-point favorites. Titans 40.5-point total in this game. London game, by the way, guys. So this will be an early Sunday spot for us on the East Coast, even earlier for those of you on the West Coast. Titans are one of those teams that don't make a lot of sense from week to week. It's that, think about it. Smoked by Cleveland in week 3. Smoked after Cleveland had looked terrible with Deshaun Watson. Then everyone is backing the Bengals the next week because who in the public is going to look towards the Titans? They come in and they steamroll the Bengals. And then as week 5 road favorites against the Colts, they lose in an ugly game. The problem is I haven't seen anything to suggest that the Ravens are firing on all cylinders right now either. And Lamar Jackson and company haven't exactly been stellar as favorites either. Neutral field, all that, both teams coming off pretty ugly losses, particularly Baltimore. What was that, like a 10-6 loss or some shit? It was horrible. Fortunately, we had Steelers in that game, which is nice. Mike Tomlin is a dog at home coming off a loss. We'll take it all day. 4.5, though, even at a neutral stadium, just seems a bit much to me. Just seems a bit much for Mike Vrabel's Titans. 4.5 seems a bit much. I'm going Titans +4.5 here for those reasons. 49ers, 6.5 points. That's the one, Jacob. We can fix that one. This has moved a lot throughout the day. You can just leave this in the video because no matter how many times I put this in the run sheet and send it over to you, it's going to be different anyway because this line's bouncing all over the place. Niners and Browns, 37.5-point total, 6.5-point spread. So here's the thing. It was at 3 on Sunday, 5.5 this morning, 6.5 now. Total's at 37.5. If you're wondering why, it's because Deshaun Watson's didn't practice today. He was, ruled out Sunday late morning when it looked like he was going to be active. And then Dorian Thompson-Robinson comes in. I mean, my God, talk about baptism by fire. So is that it? Trial by fire, right? I don't know. He got smoked. Okay, that's all that's important here. Man, it was bad, and they just got routed by the Ravens. Look, here's the thing. When you're talking about routed by, who did they get routed by? Oh yeah, because they had a bye last week. That's what it was. They had a bye last week. I got confused for a second. If Deshaun Watson doesn't play, there's just no way you can bet. Like, I don't know what number I would bet the Browns at, to be honest. Obviously, the value if Watson's out would have been much bigger on Sunday, but none of us really knew. A lot of people expected Watson to play. It could be PJ Walker that's getting this start. That's brutal. So this is a complete stay away. But if, let's just say you want to gamble on Watson not playing, because by the way, if Watson was playing, I would be backing the Browns 100% at this number, at 5.5, even at 5, for sure. It's just such a letdown spot for a Niners team that nobody thinks can lose right now. But if you don't think Watson's going to play, and like you can get in quick if he doesn't practice on Thursday and grab the Niners at like -6 or -6.5, get him inside a touchdown, that's the spot. But right now, there's nothing we can do with this outside of take some guesses. It seems like he's not going to play, though. That's what I'll say right now. Panthers, 13.5-point dogs against the Dolphins, 48.5-point total. Panthers are 0-4-1 against the spread. They pushed against the Saints on Monday Night Football in that doubleheader. Bryce Young's bad, guys. Bryce Young's bad. They're probably kicking themselves for not grabbing C.J. Stroud. And it sounds like Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud as well, which makes things even more disastrous if you're a Carolina Panthers fan. They have no run game to speak of. I've said it a million times. Paying Miles Sanders is like the worst thing. Why? I don't know why you would pay Miles Sanders unless he's accompanied by the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. What are you doing? I was a big fan of Sanders in Philly when you could create crater-sized holes for him and let him get shifty in space. He's not a guy that's going to move piles, right? Like, he's not someone that's just a contact runner. It's been horrible. Laviska Shenault's been their best running back. It's really bad. This is one of those spots where it's like, can you really back the Dolphins at 13.5-point favorites? If you ask me, you get it in under 14. Yeah, you can. They weren't even good last week, and they still won by a ton, right? Like, Tua made some bad mistakes. And yeah, I get it. Devon Achane is out, but Raheem Mostert's fine. Like, he's good still. This team can block. These guys are averaging 1 million yards before contact on rushing attempts. Jeff Wilson might be back. Does it matter? Does it matter at this point? I mean, look, I get it. The analytical mind goes, we should take Carolina at plus 13.5. But what about this team suggests that they can function even remotely competently? Unless you think Adam Thielen is just a hero from game to game. Look, he's been great, but Bryce Young has stunk. You have Tyreek Hill on the other side, Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa. Even with Teron Armstead out, does it matter? I don't think it does. Dolphins at home, minus 13.5. Get in under 14 before you can't. Colts, 4.5-point dogs at the Jags, 45.5-point total. Okay, here's a really interesting wrinkle from this. Any team that plays in London and comes back from London just is constantly involved in games that are going down to the wire. I saw this somewhere on Twitter. I wish I could credit them with it. But like constantly involved in games that come down to the wire the following week. And the Jags don't have a bye. They also spent 2 weeks straight in London, not just one. It's been a weird season for them. They had an easy win over the same Colts team in week 1, followed by back-to-back ugly losses against Kansas City and Houston. I mean, Houston routed them. And then an easy win against Atlanta in London, 5-point win against Buffalo. That team was just, a barrage of injuries hit Buffalo. But still, Jags got the win. I'm not going to completely discredit that. They spent the previous week in London, and I think it benefited them. We talked about how tough of a game that was as a result, with Buffalo laying 5.5, but Jags been waiting for him for a damn week in London. I like the Colts at plus 4.5 here. On FanDuel, you're getting it at 4.5. Make sure you get this 4.5. You'll take that 4.5 over 4 any day of the week. They don't need to win. Richardson's going to be out for 4 to 8 weeks, but Gardner Minshew's looked really good back here. He's been more than serviceable in the several times that Anthony Richardson has gone down. And just the Jags coming back for spending 2 weeks in London here, I just think 4.5 is too big of a number right now. Give me Colts plus 4.5 on the road. Vikings, 2.5-point favorites against the Bears, 44.5-point total. Oh, what a game, huh, friends? I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. I was a little surprised to see this total only at 44.5. I know it's outside. I know it's in Chicago. It's still October, though. This isn't a January or late December game. Supposed to be some occasional rain showers, some wind, but not a ton of wind. I don't know. See, it doesn't seem like apocalyptic type weather to me by any stretch. And yeah, obviously Justin Jefferson being out is going to affect this total, you would assume, and the spread. But I don't know how much does it affect the spread? Certainly it's going to affect it, but like how much? This isn't like a quarterback being out. You know what I mean? This is different. This isn't like LeBron being out or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here, but it doesn't feel like it's swinging it dramatically, maybe a couple of points. Either way, both defenses stink. But the way I look at this, and I think you guys will mostly agree, maybe you won't, but you have to kind of take this approach sometimes if you don't have a super strong lean and both teams have played poorly and one's missing their top receiver. And the other one, might I add, in the Bears, you have to think that the public loves the Bears this week, right? Right? Because like after last week, Thursday Night Football, primetime game, dismantling that Washington Commanders defense, which, as I mentioned, the deep ball's been terrible. DJ Moore had 255-plus yard receptions, another 30-plus yard reception. That's the ticket right there. And it's not like this Vikings defense is great, but they're going to bring they're going to blitz a lot. Justin Fields has struggled there. But more than anything, look, if the Bears were plus 3.5, I think I'd take the Bears. But the Vikings inside of a field goal between two bad teams, I think they still have enough weapons in Addison and Hawkinson and a horrible run defense for the Bears. So I think Alexander Madison should be fine. I think they still have enough weapons to get it done. This is just, hey, I'm getting the Vikings inside of a field goal at minus 2.5. If they lose, the season's over. You could say the same for the Bears, but at the same time, like, they're kind of in different spots, right? Give me Vikings minus 2.5. Also, I am going to lean the over 44.5 here. I think we could see a lot of points in this game, even though it's a very low total from what I expected. Seahawks and the Vikings. That's not right. Seahawks and the Bengals. Seahawks 3-point dogs here at the Bengals, 45.5 point total. Guys, Burrow attempted 10 deep passes in the first 4 games, which is super low anyway. 2.5 per game? Completed one of them for 43 yards. 1 of 10. Last week, he only completed 1 of 3, but it was 63-yard touchdown to Jamar Chase. Finally looked unaffected by the calf injury that's been plaguing him all year. But tell me this doesn't feel like one of those games that the public's just going to kind of dive headfirst into the Bengals, right? Like after what we saw against a clearly bad Arizona team they've been playing above their heads through the first several weeks of the season. I could be way off here, but I'm actually approaching this game from an angle that we could see a bit of a shootout. The weather doesn't look great in Cincinnati, but it's not overly concerning either. Again, like 10-mile-per-hour winds, rain showers, 55 degrees, whatever. It's not a dome game. I get it, but it doesn't look terrible. These are professional teams that, when firing on all cylinders, have 2 of the better offenses in the league. The Seahawks are coming off of a bye, though, guys. Like, they should be mostly healthy. And Burrow might not be 100% healthy. He's not. But he's also not 50% either. Last week, he looked good. If we see throughout the week that everything looks good, I like the over 45.5. And the Seahawks defense has been gutted through the air, too. Like, unless they're facing a Giants team that allows them to get to the quarterback with 11 sacks in a spot like that, they're going to struggle in the passing game. Give me over 45.5. And if you get the Seahawks at +3 and you want to decide on this one, that would be my lean. Saints at the Texans. Ooh, all right. This feels like an under spot to me, but there's another spot I like as well. Now, the scores in the Saints games, if we're talking unders this year, 34, 35, 35, 37, and 31. They've gone under. They've gone under in 5 games, all 5 games. Texans have gone under in 3 of 5. The Saints defense, though, guys, is really legit. Like, this is a very good defense. We'll talk about the Patriots in a moment, but man, you want to talk about beating the brakes off Mac Jones. Dude was seeing ghosts all game, looked horrible. 0 points against. This is a good defense. All right. They've allowed 17 or fewer points in all but 1 game. The only one they didn't was against the Bucs in a divisional spot. C.J. Stroud's been really nice. He's been good as a rookie, and they can definitely win this game. But it's hard to envision a shootout happening here. And I think when you're talking about like this, look, I've told you guys, I am not a Dennis Allen fan by any stretch of the imagination. I said it last week, and I'll say it again this week. I think, though, that we're overhyping Houston a little bit too much right now. And I think this could be the toughest test of the season outside of the Ravens in week 1. And I think if the Saints are laying 1.5, even if Derek Carr is struggling to throw, the return of Alvin Kamara, despite not being super effective, is really helpful. And we've seen that like last week. They just gave him the ball 22 times and let the defense do the rest of the work. I also think that C.J. Stroud could get picked here finally. Anywhere you look, turn your head and they're talking about CJ Stroud hasn't thrown a pick. I like this guy, right? I'm not shit talking CJ Stroud. I'm just saying, eventually this guy's going to get picked off. And the Saints, yeah, the Saints have a lot of interceptions this year. Only the Bills and Niners have more than them. So the props aren't out yet, though. Like I said, follow me on Twitter at Loughy_D. I think I'll have something here if we get a good number. But the books are smart. It might be like CJ Stroud to throw an interception at -150. You watch. But if it's not, we're going CJ Stroud to get picked off. Saints -1.5 and under 42.5 in this game as well. Should be a fun, ugly game, and I like that. Patriots at the Raiders. All right, so this is a Raiders or pass for me, or under 41.5. The Patriots are broken right now. Mac Jones, he looked really good in week 1, and since then he has looked outright awful. Like Bryce Young competing with Mac Jones for the worst quarterback in the league, awful right now. It's horrible. All right. They've been outscored 72-3 over the last 2 games. 72-3 over the last 2 games. Nothing's working. You pick 6 machine in Mac Jones. The only reason I'm saying Raiders or pass is because we did back the Raiders. We got them at +2.5 if you watched this video for the Monday night game. And then we hit it again at -2.5 for those of you guys watching the Monday night video, and they covered. But Josh McDaniels just makes bad decisions. Like, first of all, this is why it's Raiders or pass. Josh McDaniels not calling a timeout towards the end of the first half in that game, where they would have had like almost 2 minutes to drive down the field and get points on the board. He let it wind down to like 50 seconds? Insane. And then instead of going for it on 4th and 2, where if you don't get it, they still have to Packers still have to drive 67 yards to score. Instead of doing that, what do? What's he do? He goes for a 52-yard field goal. They miss. You give him better field goal position. Even if you hit that field goal, they still would have needed a touchdown to tie the game. They still would have needed to drive the length of the field. They got lucky. They got that interception. They got the win. Good for us. But I don't trust Josh McDaniels. So maybe we'll look at some props in this one later in the week. But yeah, it's Raiders or pass. And I'll just say this. The Patriots coming off a brutal loss like this, any other week as a Bill Belichick coach team, I'm like, man, I'm going to smash the Patriots here, especially with everyone going away from them. But I just have no faith in them right now. I have no faith in the Raiders. You guys remember what happened in this game last year with Jacoby Myers and Ramondre Stevenson, right? Chandler Jones. Check that one out if you need to go back. But what a game. What a game. Raiders -3 or pass. Under 42, though. I think that's a good number. Raiders disappoint. If the Patriots do win this game, it's going to be a low-scoring effort. Eagles -7 against the Jets, 41-point total. The Jets just lost Elijah Vera Tucker. Not good if you're going up against – Did you see Jalen Carter just steamrolling players? Jacob, I see you laugh. Did you see him double teams, throwing both of them on the ground? He's a freak of nature. And Hassan Reddick just got that cast off his hand. I heard that on the New Heights podcast. Jason Kelsey, a little inside baseball there. He had 2 sacks, executed big, closed the game. I was wrong about this defense against the Commanders, but this could be a tough game for Zach Wilson. Here's how I think it plays out. You guys tell me in the comments what you think, and let me know your favorite picks down there as always. I think this could set up as a low-scoring game where the Eagles look to get long, sustained drives on the ground. And look, they have 55 rushing first downs this year. No one else has more than 45. I think they could impose their will in this spot. The Jets secondary is truly elite. There's no doubt about that. But as an Eagles team, you don't need to try and pick them apart with the secondary, especially with the Jets offense showing life, but still not being good, facing a horrible run defense last week with the Broncos. We saw what Breece Hall did. You know what I mean? Like this is a much tougher spot. And the Jets secondary, amazing, but they're allowing 4.5 yards per carry on the ground, 8th worst in the league. 146 rushing yards per game on the ground, 4th most in the league. Zach Wilson's taken 14 sacks. He's been pressured at the 4th highest clip in football. Eagles -7. I think it's low scoring. Usually you would take the dog as you know, usually in a low scoring game, you take the dog if it's a big number, but I'm actually going to go away from that. Under 41 and Eagles -7. I think they can impose their will in this game on the ground with long drives and dominate time of possession. All right. Lions -3.5 against the Bucs, 43.5-point total. And by the way, guys, if you missed it at the beginning of the show, if you're in Colorado, Virginia, Ohio, New Jersey, Iowa, or Kentucky, Bet365, go get your money for free. Bet $5, get $150. It's that simple. It takes 2 minutes. It's $150 in 2 minutes, or $75 a minute. If you're in Kentucky, it's bet $1 and get $365. It's that simple. Link in the description and in the comments. Just a reminder, if maybe you forgot in this long video, I got you covered. Get your free money there and start putting some bets down. Just got to deposit 10. It takes 2 minutes to sign up. Let's talk about this Lions and Bucks game. Bucks are have a home game coming off a bye. They should be healthy, mostly healthy. Mayfield's playing well. The offense is actually functioning. This team's look good. Outside of that game against Philly where Mike Evans had a couple bad drops, which they could have kept competitive, he's been good. The Lions are a great football team. I'm not putting them in like the Niners-Eagles tier yet, though. But I'm not sleeping on the Bucks. They've allowed more than 17 points once in 4 games, and that was once against the Eagles. I think they keep it close. And I'm not willing to bet the money line, but if we're getting them outside of a field goal, and they're still plus 3.5 in some spots, make sure you're finding that 3.5, which is why I'm constantly stressing for you guys to be on as many sports books as possible so you don't get caught in a bad spot. If they lose by 3, you push. If they lose by 3 at 3.5, you win. I think they keep it close. And this feels like a game where people go heavy on the Lions. Like, oh, my God, this team is amazing. For the first time in forever, the Lions look awesome. Yeah, but the Bucs are a good football team with a good defense at home, coming off a bye, and Jared Goff is not in a dome. That's enough for me to take the Bucs outside of a field goal, plus 3.5. Cardinals plus 7 against the Rams, 48-point total here. Rams actually look like a pretty decent football team. Look, here's the truth. Eagles' offensive line is sick. They neutralized Aaron Donald. All right, that's just par for the course with this team. But Aaron Donald could absolutely break this game. He could break this game. And Josh Dobbs might be in some real trouble. Cooper Kupp looked 100% healthy. James Conner is on the IR for Arizona. We saw what Jamar Chase did last week. Again, I think Arizona was playing above their heads over the first few weeks, and last week was probably truly representative of what they should look like. I know it's a divisional game, and I think this is going to be the chalky play, and sometimes I will go with the public play, the chalky play. I'm going to go Rams minus 7. I am. You know what? If you want the Cardinals plus 7, touchdown. I get that. I really do. Like the Rams aren't stellar, but I like this offense so much better than the Cardinals. The only thing that has me a little bit iffy is like divisional game. It's a pretty big number and all of that. I'm gonna go with the chalk here, fellas. I'm gonna go Rams minus 7. I think a game wrecker and Aaron Donald can create a ton of problems, and this offense keeps thinning out for Arizona. We might see them show their true colors a little bit more this week. If not, we'll come back. We'll regroup and adjust going into week 7. Giants plus 14 against the Bills. I hate this game. So Daniel Jones isn't expected to play with the neck injury. You might want to put Tyrod Taylor in that. Remember the movie The Little Giants? I hope, even if you guys are young, I hope you've seen this. All right. Jacob, have you seen The Little Giants? I hope so. What? You're a cultured man. That is sickening. Remember the kid with the big snot bubble, the one that they put in a huge wrap? I don't know what type of wrap it was. It looked like insulation or something with bubble wrap, so he didn't get killed because he was 7 pounds. You might want to do that with Tyrod Taylor. And you might be like, yeah, but he's mobile. So is Daniel Jones. What difference has that made? Just getting crushed. Even if Andrew Thomas is back, I don't know how much of a difference it makes at this point. The Bills have 21 sacks on the season. It leads the league. But they have so many injuries on defense. This feels gross, but the amount of injuries that are mounting for the Bills here, they're still such a better team. Giants might just be able to backdoor cover this. I'm not betting this game right now. This is mostly a stay away, but it's Sunday night. Maybe I'll do a little bit more digging. Right now, I'd go Giants plus 14. If you could somehow find the 14.5, I think that's good. They could backdoor this, but ultimately, both teams are one's banged up, but is significantly better, but they're also laying 14 points. And on the other side, they're getting 14 points, but the offensive line couldn't block me right now. So I'll go plus 14, but not one of my favorite games at all. All right, let's wrap it up. Cowboys at the Chargers, 50.5 point total. Cowboys minus 2.5. Guys, I can't get the Cowboys right this season. There's some teams like the Falcons that we've had really good reads on. A few other teams that we've just had good reads on all year. I can't get the Cowboys right. They got stomped on Sunday night in like this huge marquee matchup against San Francisco. Dak Prescott was terrible. They got beat by Arizona, but then you look at the games they win, they're crushing the Patriots. They crushed the Jets. They smoked the Giants at MetLife in the Giants opener in week 1. I don't know what to make of it. Here's what I'll say. You know what? Chargers are 2.5-point dogs at home. If you want to even call this a home matchup, probably not, right? But we will for the sake of geographical location. You want to go over 50.5. The over's gotten steamed here. I get that. But Dak Prescott in this offense, if the defense isn't coming through, and maybe the Diggs injury is more important than we think, if the defense, this is what it comes down to for Dallas. If the defense can't get the job done and put them up with an early lead and let them coast and just hand it to Tony Pollard and Dak Prescott making low-pressure throws all game, they're not winning football games. That's what it is. And even with Mike Williams out, Austin Eckler's expected back, right? You still have Keenan Allen, who's an absolute stud. You still have Justin Herbert. I'll take the 2.5 for the Chargers until the Cowboys can prove to us that, the defense doesn't need to be the only reason they win games. But keep in mind, I can't get the Cowboys right this season. I'll have more on this for Monday, but that's something to consider going into this one. Appreciate you guys watching, as always, and we'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.